All right, so today we're diving into a phenomenon that can literally reshape a person's reality in the blink of an eye. We're talking about spontaneous spiritual awakening. An experience that just arrives totally unannounced and can change, well, everything.
I mean, have you ever felt like a lightning strike just completely changed your entire reality? One minute, you're just going about your day, living your normal life, and the next, boom. It's like your entire perception of who you are, what the world is, has been totally rewired. That's the feeling we're digging into today. This sudden, profound shift that's, both amazing and, honestly, super disorienting.
Okay, so to really get a handle on this, here's our game plan. First up, what even is an unplanned awakening? Then we'll look at the mysterious triggers. What kicks this whole thing off? We'll cover the signs of the shift, then get into the tough part, the integration challenge. And finally, we'll talk about forging a new path forward after an experience like this.
All right, let's jump right into section 1, an unplanned awakening. So what actually happens when this kind of shift hits you out of the blue, totally unexpected?
So at its absolute core, a spontaneous awakening is really just this, a sudden, profound shift in how you see everything, an awareness that just appears. It happens without you trying, without any deliberate practice. I mean, we're not talking about years of meditation here. This can happen while you're washing the dishes, right? Or walking through a park. It's not something you earn, it just arrives.
Here's a great way to picture the difference. A gradual awakening, that's kind of like building a house, brick by brick over years of practice. But a spontaneous awakening, that's like waking up one morning and finding the house is just there, perfectly built all around you. So it's not about building towards some truth, it's a sudden unveiling of a truth that was there the whole time.
So what does this unveiling actually feel like? Well, people who go through this often report these core realizations. It's this deep knowing that, wait a minute, you're not your thoughts or your emotions, that this sense of a separate me is, well, an illusion, and that everything, absolutely everything, is interconnected. And usually this all comes with this incredible sense of peace or love that feels like it's been there forever, just waiting to be noticed.
But, okay, what could possibly cause something so radical? That brings us right into our next section, the mysterious triggers. I mean, what on earth could spark such an instant, massive change in someone's consciousness?
And what's so fascinating is just how wide the range of causes is. For some, it happens in a moment of really intense suffering, a life crisis, a trauma. But for other people, it can happen while they're just, reading a book. Or, and this is the kicker, for no obvious reason at all. It really truly can just come out of the blue.
A really famous example of this is Eckhart Tolle. His awakening happened after this night of just unbearable psychological pain. The thought, I cannot live with myself any longer, hit him so hard that it literally split his mind in two. His old suffering self just collapsed, and that's what made room for this whole new state of awareness. And you see a similar thing with Byron Katie's story. She'd been struggling with severe depression for years, and then one morning, she had this spontaneous realization that just totally transformed her world into, as she describes it, pure love and awareness. It really shows how sometimes a complete breakdown can actually become the biggest breakthrough. Okay, so we've talked about what it is and what might trigger it, but what does an awakening actually feel like when it's happening? This brings us to the signs of the shift. Like, how would you even know if this was happening to you?
Well, people who go through this report a whole range of really powerful signs. There's often this deep, deep feeling of unity, of being connected to literally everything. That feeling of you being a separate person can just dissolve, and in its place, you might feel this intense bliss or joy that comes from nowhere. Even something as fundamental as the fear of death can just, poof, vanish.
And there's no set timeline for this at all. For one person, it could be a quick flash, just a few moments. For someone else, that initial state of bliss and clarity might stick around for weeks. And for a few, it can actually become their new permanent way of seeing the world.
Okay, this brings us to a really, really important part of the conversation, the integration challenge. This is where that blissful, profound experience slams into the real world. And let me tell you, it is not always a smooth ride.
Because this whole thing is so sudden, so unplanned, it can be deeply destabilizing. I mean, just imagine, your entire sense of self, your whole reality, gets flipped upside down overnight. But you still have to pay the bills and show up for work on Monday. If you don't have a framework to understand what just happened, it can feel incredibly confusing, maybe even scary.
And these are some of the really common struggles people face. That loss of identity. Who am I now?
can be super disorienting. A lot of times, old traumas and emotions bubble up to the surface. And it can be so isolating, when your friends and family just don't get what you've been through. It can be a very, very lonely path.
So, how do you navigate all that confusion and loneliness? Well, that brings us to our final section, forging a new path. This is all about how you take this incredible world-shattering experience and actually weave it into your life for lasting change.
Now, this is so crucial to understand. The awakening itself isn't the finish line. It's more like the starting gun. The real work, the deep work, begins afterward in the integration. That's the process of letting these huge insights actually change how you live your life, day in and day out.
So what does that look like, practically speaking? Well, here's a kind of toolkit for integration. Grounding yourself is huge. Getting out in nature, physical activity. Journaling about your experience can help you process it all. Mindfulness is great for stabilizing your body and mind. And, so important, seeking out guidance from teachers or therapists who get it and connecting with a community. That can make all the difference in feeling less alone. And above all else, you've just got to be patient with yourself.
And this leads to maybe the biggest question people have after something like this happens to them. Is it permanent? Does this feeling last? The honest answer is, not always. For a lot of people, that initial intense state of bliss or clarity does fade. But, and this is a big but, even when it does, the experience is never forgotten. It leaves a permanent mark, a new perspective that changes how you see everything long after that initial peak experience is over. It becomes a catalyst for real, lasting transformation.
So I guess the big takeaway is this. The potential for this kind of profound shift exists in every single one of us, at any moment. It's not just for sages on a mountaintop or monks in a monastery. It's a powerful reminder that if awakening is always possible, in any moment, what are you weighing for?